Hey. So my guest today is Simon De Baene. Simon is a co-founder of GSoft, the software company behind ShareGate, Officevibe, and SoftStart, a new employee experience platform. GSoft has its roots in consulting, and through many twists and turns, the company was able to launch multiple products and sign more than 15,000 customers around the world. GSoft is one of the fastest growing companies in Canada. Simon, welcome to the podcast.
Pleasure to be here today.
So I understood that GSoft was started when you were in school with your business partners. So at that time, could you tell me, like, what were the objectives of GSoft? Like, were you planning to do consulting? Was it to create products? What were you guys trying to achieve?
So yeah, back in 2006, at the time I was working in a big tech company in Quebec, actually in the world. It's called CGI. I was working in the technical support team, and I was finishing my cégep at the time, and I then started at ETS, which is an engineering school in Montreal. And I just felt that back in the days, like, if I'm an old person, not really, but I just felt like the tech industry in Quebec felt a little bit too gray, in my opinion. I just felt like right now, like when we talk about tech, it's like, I don't know, there's a momentum and everyone wants to start a company now there, and we all talk about tech all the time. But 15 years ago, it just felt like there was some, I don't know, some services company around Quebec, and it was kind of very traditional and not too far from here in Silicon Valley. It just felt like there was like a complete different momentum. And so from our 20 years of life in our first year at l'ETS, we just decided that we wanted to bring some fresh air in the tech industry in Quebec, and we decided to start a company. And we just felt like building a company was a nice way to kind of express what we had in mind and what we wanted to do in life. But at the time, I didn't know much about what it's like to build a company. So never built it. Like, you're 20 years old, you don't know much. You actually know nothing at 20 years old. And my big influence for me was my father. When I was young, I just knew that he had a company. I didn't know what it meant really, but I just knew that starting a company was a thing. And at the same time, when I started GSoft, I think 2 months earlier, he started again another company. And I just said, like, so if he can do it, I can do it. And I just decided to start GSoft at the time.
Okay, so entrepreneurial family. Okay, and what kind of a business was your father involved in? Like, what kind of business did you do?
A technology company.
As well. Okay.
Providing services mostly in the finance industry. They were acquired by CGI around the year 2000, and then he had to work there for a few years. When you get acquired, you're kind of
locked in.
You're locked in, and then a few years after that, he decided to start again a company with mostly the same partners, and they just started again together. And So what was the question?
Well, so did that set like your model for what the business was going to be? You wanted to be an entrepreneur. You said, okay, let's start a business. But were you going after a similar model? Were you going like, okay, so my father has this type of business. That seems like the right type of business. Let's get in that model, or let's get.
That's it's kind of a, right now when you're looking at companies that are starting, they usually have a very clear idea of what they're trying to do. But in 2006, when we started GSoft, we had like an ideal in mind. We just wanted to bring some fresh air in the tech industry in Quebec, but it wasn't very like tangible.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time when we went to the accounting person and just had like our incorporation created, and he gave us like the livre des minutes, the book where I didn't know much what it was, but just took that home with my partners, and we're like, okay, so now we have a company. So what should we do? And because we were kind of good at programming, we just decided to take our expertise building software and just provide services for whoever wanted our services. But what's crazy is that you're 20 years old and you have a baby face. It's pretty hard to kind of to get contract from different companies. Like they just don't take you very seriously. So we at some point someone decided to trust us and gave us our first project. We did a good job, and from that project it went to another project, and then it went to another project, and at some point we had like the portfolio to kind of sell our services more easily. And from there we just became like more like a boutique service company doing like, we were like a kind of a small team, but very strong in building software. A lot of like websites, a lot of intranet. We built a lot of custom made solution for different purposes. So we, from 2006 to 2009, 2010, we were 100% service company. And at some point, Sebastian, one of the co-founder, went to, I think it's a kind of a training or conference, and came back to the office with an idea that was like, because back in the days we were working mostly with a platform called SharePoint. It's a very popular platform that built by Microsoft that became Office 365 that we know much more now. But back then, SharePoint was the on-premise version of Office 365, and companies building software on SharePoint had to maintain development environment, QA environment, and production environment. And the challenge was to move stuff around those environments. And there was a lot of click that needed to happen to make sure that everything was maintained correctly and synchronized. So came back to the office with the idea of building a software that would make that much, much simpler. And that was enough to start building ShareGate, which is the first product that we built at GSoft. And it was a total disaster. The first version went for like 2 years. After 2 years, we had 4 customers. 2 of them were like friends of ours that just purchased the product just because we were friends. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna help you guys. And so big disaster. The product didn't work very well. It was more like a big technology trip that we had, and didn't listen to the customer much. And I don't know, it's just, when you're used to provide service, like you're a service company, to switch from a service company to a product company, you feel like it's the same, but when you're doing it, you realize that it's completely different. There's the expectation are just not the same. The way you build your software is not the same. When you're building a software for a large audience, it's not the same as building a software for a very narrow, specific need project for a company. So we learned a lot. It was 2 years of just learning, and a lot of hope that went nothing at the time. And after 2 years, we decided to do a complete pivot of the product. We went to Tremblant in the wood, little house there, and for a week, and decided to launch the pivot there, and decided to, instead of trying to, the big difference between the 2 versions is that first version was the kind of product where you tried to do everything. There was a lot of buttons, a lot of we were providing a lot of features, but half-baked features. And the difference with the other version is that we decided to provide 1 or 2 features, but we were doing it very well. And so the difference is because you're not providing a lot of features, you're not going to sell your product to a lot of people. It's going to sell to a smaller audience. And from there, we just keep, we kept adding features and like slowly but surely like growing the audience. And at some point, ShareGate became like a massive success for GSoft. And it's like it's kind of a crazy story because ShareGate we almost decided to not pivot the product and just jump to another product and try something else.
What was the trigger then? Like, what convinced you guys to say like, there's potential here? Like there's something to do with what we put together or what we think this could be? Like, what convinced you guys to stick with this and just decide like, let's make this happen?
I thought about it and I'm really not sure. I think this is the case of just good instinct and naivete of when you're young and I don't know, for me, it just felt like there was still something to do with that product, even after 2 years of absolutely no arguments to keep going. Like looking at the numbers, looking at the product, looking at everything, someone with the right mind would have never launch a pivot of that product. There was just nothing to hope for. And because we wanted to build our first successful product, we wanted to become like a product company. That was like my dream. And and at some point it's like, I think there's still something there. I think we should give it a try. And yes, we did it. Like I think we went for the Christmas break and came back in January, rented a place in Tremblant, went there for a week, worked on that new shape of product with clear guidelines, no copy paste of the old product. It's just like we're starting from scratch. We keep the same logo, the same name, and we keep the same essence in some ways, but we're approaching the problem in a different way, in a much simpler way. And we're not trying to do everything. We're just trying to do a few things, but very well. And after 3 months, we launched the product back in the market. And after a month, someone purchased 10 licenses in one deal, and it went crazy from there. I don't know, it didn't went crazy. When I really think about it, that first month, 10 licenses, the second month, maybe a second customers, and 3 months after that, like 3 customers. Like it was slow at the beginning, and at some point we just started to see some momentum, and like SharePoint became much bigger at the time. It became Office 365, became like the cloud platform of like the cloud productivity of Microsoft, which is like a massive market. And we became the go-to product when you're trying to maintain your environment, when you're trying to move stuff around, when you're trying to keep control of the mess that is happening in the platform, when everyone is working hard on it, like creating documents there, creating sites there, library there, like these platforms like Office 365 is where people work. So there's so many things happening there that at some point you get to a point where it becomes a mess, and the stuff we're building, it's kind of keeping that chaos in control and help companies keep their information organized and keep people working on the platform in a clean environment.
So do you think there might be like a big timing component in that case? If you guys suddenly like new version out on the market and it starts growing, but at the same time, at that point, you kind of add like that, like ShareGate or Office 365 really picking up. So might that be a big force in the initial momentum?
Yeah, clearly. And that's the thing you don't control when you're building a product. Like most success around building products are the luck aspect is very important. And I think we didn't know that Office 365 was coming in the next few years when we started ShareGate. But I mean, sometimes life gives you some gift, and I don't know, it just,
yeah.
But at the same time, you create your luck, and we were like, we worked really hard on that product, and it just happened that we did a big bet on Microsoft. And I mean, Microsoft is a strong company, and the chance that Microsoft goes away are very low. And Microsoft has proven in the past that they can come up with new stuff, and I think it was a good bet from our side to work with Microsoft and trying to build stuff, helping those products to be better. And it just felt right for us, and we were passionate about it, and then everything, like everything was in the right alignment to be successful, and it became ShareGate, still a very successful product that we
definitely
that I don't know, more than, I think we're 150 people working on ShareGate still to this day. There's still so much stuff to build around that product.
Yeah, we'll get to that afterwards for sure. But at that point, like, so between version 1 and version 2, there was still the sense of the same business problem that you guys were solving. Like, in spite of not having a ton of clients initially, how did you guys either reconvince yourself that this was a problem, or there was a specific problem? Like, how did you narrow in on, like, that's the problem when you guys were brainstorming on the next version?
I think the most convincing argument was the fact that there were competitors out there, very successful competitors, and the fact that we knew that there was a lot of customers purchasing their products, and they were kind of doing what we were trying to achieve. And the big difference with our approach is that their approach was more like a more traditional, like big enterprise software requiring servers, and we went for let's build like a 3 meg install, click next, and it's sitting on your computer, and you do pretty much what those big products are doing with so much cost just to get started. So it was like, we were very proud of like trying to build the simplest product to migrate with SharePoint and keep your environment healthy. So I think that was the most convincing argument. Like, we were very, we felt it in our guts, like we had like the instinct for it, but at the same time, we knew that there was a market there. We knew that there was some successful companies out there, and we knew that if we were able to execute an approach where you can only click, install, and you're up and running, we could change the market. And that's what we did, and big difference with the competitors is that they were selling their products like for 100 grand, like 50K, 100, like they were charging based on what they felt the customer could pay. Like the very old school approach, like no price on the website. You need to call a salesperson. He's probably looking at your company, like, are they able to pay? And they will send you like the biggest invoice they can. In our case, we went for at the time, I don't even know if it was called that way, but now we call it the product-led growth approach. So it's, I mean, I feel like we were very early because we were selling like a desktop app in a subscription-based approach. And Adobe came very much later with the similar approach, because they needed like the power of the machine to make their software work. But the cloud was there, but for the kind of problem we were solving, I mean, using the computer like power was the way to go for us. And we went for a pricing that was very low. So the goal for us was, we know that there's thousands of customers using SharePoint. like hundreds of thousands. And what could we do to get all of them?
Yeah,
pretty much. And we went for a volume approach. We wanted a lot of customers with less features, so less maintenance, less support at the same time. And it was also a way to build a customer base and then build a great product with them. And we wanted to have the burden on us to give them like a low entry price and make them so addicted to the product that they would renew every year and keep paying. And at some point, they would pay the same as they would pay with the competitors with that one-time fee and like 15% maintenance every year. That's the old approach, and we went for right now it feels like it's the way to go.
Business as usual,
yeah. But think about it like 10 years ago.
Very different
world. And it worked. And a lot of people told us like, you guys are leaving money on the table. This is like, it's crazy to do this. But now if you're looking at the market, there's not many competitors left. And we're pretty much two big players in the market we are. And we're here still to this day and keep going. It's kind of crazy because a lot of those decisions were, now that we think about it, they make a lot of sense. But when you're in the moment, it's a very different feeling. And it just felt right. And it's the reason where when I'm giving conferences to students, and I'm always like, listen to be careful with the experience, because experience will make you not do things because you feel like your experience told you to not do those things. But when you're young, you just do things. You're kind of, you don't know much in life. And so you just go in directions that most people wouldn't go. And sometimes you hit a wall, and sometimes you just discover like amazing places. And it's like, damn, like and I think that there was a lot of that in the success we created. And I miss the old days of being young, but that's fine. I know I'm happy now to mix experience with keeping that I don't know, that young
enthusiasm.
Exactly. And just allow just to allow you to go in directions that most people would tell you to not go. And sometimes I think you can find amazing things.
I definitely think there's something there. I don't know if you know the founder of Nomad List.
No.
But it's like, it's the same thing. It's like he started like really young, didn't have any formal training in business, but like all the solutions that he discovered are super interesting because they're different, but they also work. So he's just basically doing like what feels right to him, as opposed to like what people tells him should be the way to do this, and comes up with like creative solutions that actually create even bigger success.
I think it's just to find the right balance. I'm happy now that we have the experience to mix with that I don't know, that young crazy spirit. I think that finding the right balance allows you to create amazing products and avoid stuff that are just obvious. I think there's a lot of things we could have. We probably wasted a lot of times on many things, but what can I say? We're here today and it works. So but if we can repeat that, I think it could repeat it much faster. And that's the power of taking your experience and keep that craziness.
So in that sense, like you guys, so what convinced you guys to go in a multi-product approach? Like a few years after that, you guys decided to add a second product. So what was the driving force between saying like, okay, one product is great, maybe two product is even better?
We just can't stop. I think we're no, I think I thought about it like in the last few years, and it's like, how did we manage to create two successful products? Because a lot of companies, like, they have a hard time just creating one product, and it's like we have two now, and we're trying a third one now. I feels right, and what happened is that for sure we met some people, we discovered stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff that you don't control that just happen, that just makes you create something. But in our case, to dedicate people on a new product at that time, I think it was based on the fact that ShareGate was still very young, and ShareGate was not yet a successful product. Because if you think about it, ShareGate, the pivot was done in 2011.
Okay.
ShareGate, Officevibe was created around 2013. So there's 2, 3 years, and we felt that ShareGate was becoming a success, but we weren't at the point where like, oh, we have to dedicate everything we had to that product. So there was still some I don't know, some room for a new product to grow inside GSoft. And I think that if we were like 2 or 3, like 2 years, like if we were in 2015 or 2016, it would have been like a very different story. And I think so we were lucky that both products had like the space, the room to kind of grow inside GSoft. And at some point, everything was around those two products. And this is a new challenge that we have as a business, because once you get 1 or 2 successful products that get to a point of kind of a good scale, everything is around those products. There's no room left to build new stuff, because it takes so much just to maintain a success. It takes everything you have, and it's a big, like, I'm not inventing that. It's a big challenge for a bigger company to innovate, because they're too busy working on their existing products. And so we were kind of lucky that those 2 products were done very early, pretty much at the same time. And it happened that those products found like a market fit, and they just became what they are today. And now we're trying to build SoftStart.
Third one.
I'm working full time on that product. I strongly believe in what we're trying to achieve, but we have a very different mindset now. We're aware of that necessity of creating like enough room for innovation to happen, and that's why we have the lab at GSoft that is dedicated at building new products, and that we're willing to invest money there, and we're willing to lose money there. It's part of the deal. And so it's the duality between exploitation and exploration within the same company. I read a lot of stuff around that in the last few years. It's like, I want to be able to support both. It's just that exploration, it's like they require different things. So it's hard to make it happen within the same company.
Well, let's contrast those. Let's say, like, so they start at a very different point, probably different start points. So like, how would you compare like how the 3 different ideas or the 3 different genesis of products came to be based on where you guys were at? Because the approach certainly evolved over the years. Like now you have a lab, but initially it seemed it was very organic. So how would you compare the 3 different experiences?
ShareGate was the learning experience. Definitely the learning experience in at a moment where GSoft was trying to become something. So you have that, like, you have nothing to lose mentality. It's like, we have nothing. Like, at the time we had like a great small service company, which could be enough. I mean, we could have been that for forever. And there's amazing service company out there doing exactly that. But for us, it was like, we want to build products. It's so fun to build products. So learning experience, nothing to lose. And we were so bad at it. Like, just, it's your first time building a product. So you do pretty much every mistake possible. You're doing all of them. Officevibe was like, okay, we had the experience with ShareGate. we feel like we have the right tools to build products, and we have the right experience. And what ultimately happened with Officevibe is that we repeated the same thing, did a complete pivot of the product a year and a half after the launch.
Okay.
And we had like, instead of having 4 customers, we had like 16 customers, and most of them were not really using the product because it was just not, it was nice for the first few weeks, but the product was taking too much was requiring too much from people just in order to work. So it was more like, how can we call that? Like a reality check. It's like you think you're good because you built one product. Building products is a never-ending learning experience, and it's, even if you think I did it in the past, I have the experience, the context, like the market, the society, everything changed in a way that building products, there's some foundations, there's some basic stuff, but it's never the same. You're never gonna get the same alignment and the same momentum. You're never gonna repeat the same story. So you have to accept the fact that it's gonna be a struggle every time you start a product. And that's pretty much what's happening with SoftStart now. I mean, the big difference is that we have the financial resources. But even with all the finance, like the financial resources, it doesn't change the fact that building a product is extremely difficult. And I think doing it with nothing to lose mentality also is something that it's hard to emulate, because when you actually have nothing to lose, there's a mindset that comes with that. When you're actually kind of comfortable, I mean, we get our paycheck every 2 weeks, where the existing products are doing very well. So it's like, how can we bring back that I don't know, that excitement, that feeling of like, it's do or die. That's the big challenge, and that's why it's important to build the right team to build those products. And I think I have more fun doing it now, because I can appreciate every step of doing it. And I mean, we were improvising most of what we were doing back in the days, and now it's like, I kind of know what we have to do, but I know that there's still going to be some unknown, and the market is not going to give us a free pass. So but I'm more aware of that, and I think I can appreciate it much more. And it's like, and I'm surrounded with amazing people. It's just fun building products. And
yeah, for sure. So in that sense, like, you have a new baby this year, Soft Start, sorry, that you're putting together. So like, how did that product, like, how did you guys identify the opportunity of that for that new product specifically?
So that's one of the big benefits of having successful products, is that now you can build stuff around the customers that you already have. And we're lucky, we went for volume, like we have like thousands of customers. I think it's around 17,000 and active customers. So so exploring new opportunities with those customers is much easier, and it's like they're screaming opportunities all the time. Like,
okay,
why don't you guys build this? And we get a lot of feedback from users using Officevibe. We get a lot of feedback from people in ShareGate, and we have access to those people. We can call them, talk with them, we can test stuff with them. So yeah, that's the biggest benefit of doing exploration inside a successful company, is that you have access to resources that weren't there before. So with what we're doing with SoftStart, feels like a natural extension of what we're doing right now. If you think about the stuff we're doing in Officevibe, I mean, it's a platform around employee engagement. And now employee engagement is engagement used to be the buzzword for a few years, and now the new buzzword is around employee experience.
Okay.
And employee experience starts from recruitment, onboarding. Like we're kind of navigating in that world already, and for us, onboarding with the rise of remote work, with like the post-pandemic reality, was just an obvious product to focus on. And what used to be like, hey, welcome at GSoft at 9 a.m. at the front door at the office, has changed to you're now welcome in companies in the digital world, which is kind of a completely different approach. And you still need to connect with people. How do you immerse in a company when you're at home in your office and you don't have access to the physical world? Like it's for us, it just became like an obvious opportunity for us, and it feels right. There's a market for it. People want it. So it's like, let's build the greatest product to onboard employees. And
so there's a bottom-up component where you guys see the signals based on your existing customer base, and there's a top-down where you're looking at like macro trends, where it's like, okay, so we know that remote work is picking up, this is working, this is going that direction. So you're kind of connecting both and saying, okay, so there seems to be an opportunity there. How do you guys making sure that the product matches with the market needs at this point? Like, it's on the market, that the product exists. How do you guys make sure that it fits the market?
it's a good summary of what you said just before. It's clearly having access to customers, so we have a lot of signals. And yes, we're very passionate and interested in the trend that are happening around us, and we need to understand them if we want to keep going. But how do we test the product? We're trying to, we the minimum viable product, like building MVPs, and I don't think we all have the same definition of what an MVP is, and it's
for
like
sure. For sure.
There's a lot of talk around that, but I'll say it in my own words. We're trying to build like this, just I think it's more the fact it's very aligned with the kind of product we're building at GSoft. Products around like simplicity. We're never in the feature war. We're not trying to outpace our competitors with the features. We're just trying to build the features, the most important features, and make them just dead simple. So that approach allows us to be able to build product at a pace that kind of makes sense, and allows us to be in the market quickly. So it doesn't require like massive investment to just like test the market. And because we have access to customers, we can call them and just do like a live session with them and show them what we're doing. And they like that. They're part of building a product. They feel like connected with they feel connected with us same way as we feel connected with them. And I think that's the power of being able to build products with your existing customer base, and just keep building around them. I think that once you get like a kind of a good customer base, like that's gold. Like it's like there are actually people on the field experiencing the problems in their day-to-day, and you can talk with them and they can share their experience with you, and you just need to be good at listening to them. Mm-hmm. And be good at being creative in the solution you want to provide to them. And you can, I think with the customers we have, we're going to be able to build amazing products for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And I think that it's not the kind of thing that I realized early in the business, because we were too busy just trying to make it. But now that okay, cool, we have existing products that are successful. We have a lot of customers. how can we build a long-lasting like company? And for me, it's obvious. It's like let's work with them. Let's build products for the people we're already serving. And I think that then you just need to be good at finding the right method of doing it. But I think the broad concept is to build with your customers, and that's only something you can do once you have those customers. So we're kind of in a different phase. It's a different phase that a startup would have, because when you start from nothing, it's a very different approach.
So what do you think is when you guys have a new product concept, a new product idea, or new product coming out, like what do you think gets these first customers to want to take part? Like, is it because of the goodwill that you've built with having the other products, or like what gets them to say, all right, they have a new product, I'm gonna check it out, I'm gonna share my feedback to make them build a great product? Like, what convinces these people early on?
I mean, first you have to like solve a problem. That's an obvious one, but they're not going to buy your product because they like you. Like and I don't want them to buy a product just because they like us. I mean, if they only do this for that reason, once they're going to really use the product and if they don't like it, it's not good for business. So solve a problem, be passionate about the problem, and solve it so well that you're going to have a good, like, people are going to have a good reason to use it. And then I think what really helps is the credibility. Like, we already helped you on another problem. We did it. We solved it very well. So it's trust. You build trust with your customers. Once you build that trust, just maintain that trust and just bring them other stuff, and don't try to be too pushy about it. Like, solve a real problem. Now that you have access to those customers, if you find a good way to introduce the product to their reality, you'll see if there's a fit. But because we know them, kind of the way they use our product, and the way they talk to us, the kind of feedback they give us, we know that they need it. Now it's a question of how can we introduce it? How can we build like a nice ecosystem of product that can promote each other without becoming too pushy, like, hey, just buy all our products. And it's a fine line. I don't have the solution yet, but I mean, the more we're growing as a company, the more the products are converging in a very subtle way, and the more they're connecting to each other in an indirect and direct way. And the better we're going to make it happen, the better we're going to be able to keep growing as a company. Because if I can use my ShareGate customers, I can find a way to introduce them to what we do in Officevibe. That's amazing. And if I can do the same thing with SoftStart, it allows a new product to emerge, and then the next product can benefit from that. So that's the reason. It's one of the reasons why we're trying to evolve the family of products around the existing products. We're not trying to go completely like left field. Like, we're trying to. It's like cousins, and like they're not too far. Like, and then we'll keep like extending. And I think it's easy to say that, but I mean, it's the third product. To be honest with you, in the last 15 years, we probably launched 20 products, 25 products. They all failed. So it's
well, not all.
No, not all, but I think some of them were very small experiment, but we actually tried, like, we invested in massively in products that we decided to pull the plug, and it's still very difficult. So my wish is to build a family of products, and I think now we're in we have the right mindset, we have the resources, the financial resources, we have the expertise, the right people. Like, we have everything in place to make it happen. Now it's the time to execute and make it happen. And we were so busy in the last few years just to make ShareGate and Officevibe successful, but now we've never been that motivated at growing the family of products in the company.
And so as a company that started as a consulting company, so what's the role of services in all this? Like, what's the role? Like, are you guys still offering services on top of the software? Is it still related? So how did the role of services evolve over time? And is that something that's mandatory for a B2B company to grow where you guys are?
To your question, if we still provide services, no. In 2017, we did full transition to a 100% product company. I think the services at the beginning helped us learn about the market. Like, we were very young. Let's keep that in mind. Like, GSoft is pretty much my first job. I mean, I worked at CGI before, but it's more like a job when I was
teenage
like,
job, yeah.
was in school. And so the service side of the company helped us learn, get to know people, build like a relationship, and get exposed to problems happening in companies. I mean, we're fully dedicated at B2B products, so we have to understand how companies are like how they operate, and so that was our first taste of how companies are. And it didn't taste very well. I think it made us realize that there's so much stuff to fix. There's so much legacy in companies, more than we think. I mean, I can talk for us, but we're a tech company. We're using the latest, best software, best of breeds. But this is not the case for most people. Like, most companies are still using that old school legacy product that they feel like they're stuck with, and they're still using a lot of paper for. So service side helped us understand that. And because of the service side, we started to build a lot of stuff on SharePoint, and ShareGate came right after that. It really helped us understand the platform. So no service, no ShareGate, that's for sure. And then Officevibe happened in a moment where the GSoft culture was something we were very proud of and wanted to share more than ever. And it just made sense to kind of share that belief around creating a more human environment and like respect people. And so it was kind of it just made sense. And now I think that what the service was doing at first was replaced by the fact that we're having customers. So we have access to the knowledge that we use to kind of grasp by being on the on the field. Like, so it was replaced. We have access to I think I prefer to have access to customers than being on the field, because now we have much more variety of like more diverse customers from around the world, experiencing so many different things. So there's so much to learn from them, and after that, it's our job to build stuff for them, the right stuff for them. So yeah, the service, a lot of learning. I would say that service, it's one thing we didn't talk about, but GSoft is a bootstrap company. We have no debt, never got any funding. So we're 100% owner of GSoft. And why? It's because the service side became a way to raise capital. Back in the days, we weren't paid a lot as partners. I had like the smallest salary in the company, and we were taking the money and trying to reach milestones in terms of how much we had. And at some point, we took that capital and just invested in ShareGate and then Officevibe, and because of that, now we're 100%. We're profitable since day one, never raised any capital, and we're 100% owner of the company. So it's an
amazing success.
It's kind of crazy. Now that we're approaching the 100 million ARR, it's kind of sometimes I have to pinch myself, because there's not a lot of relatable stories around like in the market. I can think of MailChimp. They just sold to
for a lot of money.
12 billions, two owners, 50-50. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's
So
pretty amazing.
So the service side of GSoft brought us a lot, and I'm happy that we went through that phase. And to be honest with you, when I was 20 years old, I didn't know what I wanted to do exactly. I just knew that I wanted to bring kind of that fresh air, like just to be part of creating something that would be like for Montreal and Quebec. And I just wanted to create something nice around here. But I didn't have like a clear product idea to build. And even that, like, if someone had like gave me like millions of dollars when I was 20 years old, I don't think I was ready to invest that much. I was not ready to have that kind of money in my hands. So I'm happy that it took a longer time and now it's a different story, but it's yeah.
Well, there's a nice organic evolution as a company and probably as a person, I would assume as well. Thanks a lot for your time. Where can people go to learn more about your work and your company's work as well?
Website. We just launched a new website.
Yeah, which is
where I'm very proud of it. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Officevibe has its own website also. ShareGate also there, and these are like full-blown SaaS product with so much people working around all of these products. But no, everything is there. I think it's people can reach me if they want, if they have any questions, or I try to answer as much as I can to people when they have questions. I'm pretty available and
which I appreciate.
I like to help people.
Yeah,
I'm here today. I mean, I think we have a great story, and I'm always very proud to share it. And I'm always when we started GSoft, we didn't felt like, in our mind, if we were like reaching like 10 employees, it was like the biggest success ever. And for us, it was like everything. Like we didn't think big at the time. We didn't feel that we deserved it. We didn't feel like it happened. It didn't happen around us. We're not from that world at all. Like I knew that my father built something, but so I'm always very proud to show that it's possible. I mean, there's a lot of companies that will fail for sure, but the only reason that some are like successful is that they allow them to believe it's possible. And it's a mindset at some point. It's more like it's possible in Montreal and Quebec to build amazing companies, and it's a matter of give it a shot and to allow yourself to believe that you could pull that off. It's possible. It just happened here. And I'm like, I know that we have like a very special story, and maybe it's special because it's my own story, but I feel like it's a very the probability that it happened were very low, but we weren't impatient. We were like, it took us like, it's been 15 years. We're almost dinosaur in the tech world, but it's not like we're promoting a lot of story around like build fast and like companies that sold after 2 years. And these are amazing stories, but there's also amazing stories of like older company that were patient and waited a long time to reach some great milestone, and that's fine if you have passion in what you do. And I know that you're doing a lot of things around B2B, and I think that what B2B is still very underrated. Like a lot of people don't understand how many things that needs to be fixed in companies to make them more successful. And there's a lot of products to build to help companies. And the difference with consumer products and that is that companies are willing to pay for those products.
Yeah.
You get a check. That's amazing.
Yeah. And you get
They
to
have
bootstrap a
budgets for
company.
that.
Yeah. And you can bootstrap a company.
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Just gonna
Thank you very much.
this.